One of the top things that I often hear from females a lot of times is that they feel when they are in a sales situation that they are not necessarily coming off necessarily as professional or credible as their male counterparts. And this is a thing that a lot of women struggle with, right? Because we as women, a lot of times, are faced with industries that are very male focused and prioritize, let's just face it. And we have to compete with that. But we as women also definitely have an edge on ourselves that we can use that we don't always think that we do. We get very insecure sometimes or not confident about the fact that we have the ability to be that way, to be confident in sales because we're always like comparing ourselves to others, or maybe we're comparing ourselves to our male counterparts because they get in the bro club or whatever, right? Like it's just like sometimes you feel like it's a man's club. So, how do we build these skills? How do we actually sell and feel a little bit more confident when we're selling? So, I came up with some 5 tips for you to think about when you are selling that you think about that's going to help you become more confident, and it's going to come off that you are more credible to the person that you're talking to or the person that you're selling to. So the first thing is that you need to be an expert in whatever you do. If it takes you a little bit longer or you need a little extra training, don't ever go into a cold call and not really know your stuff, because that right from the beginning, because remember, your first shot is a lot of times your best shot. And if you come off like you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know your product material, or you don't understand what you're doing, that in itself is going to build that like factor that they don't really believe in you, right? Because if you don't believe in yourself, or if you don't believe in your product, or you don't know your product, that's going to tell the person, they're going to say, well, they obviously don't really care, right? So they're not that credible to me. So master that, take the time, get to know your stuff before you even leave. If it takes a little bit longer to go out there and sell or do whatever, or maybe you need to practice with somebody, then do that, right? That is the most important thing. Okay. Number 2 is be a better listener. This is so key, right? So many times in sales, people are so afraid because you're on your first call or your first time with this meeting, and you've got all this stuff in your head. You know that you've got to close a sale. You're focused on all of the stuff the company tells you. And then you just kind of like zone out because you're not listening to really what they're saying. So relax, right? Don't think about what you have to say next. Don't think about like, I've got to close this person. Because if you don't, who cares? There's always another opportunity if you earn that right? So make sure that you just take the time and relax and get to know that, understand, be a better listener. So I always say talk less, listen more. Really pull out of the individual what the real concern is, what the real issue potentially is, so that you can really sell your product or service based on the feedback that they are giving you. Number 3 is to cultivate your network. What do I mean by network? I mean by other people around you. If you have other competitors or friends or professional people that you can tap into, make sure that you are communicating with them. Don't be an island on your own. Don't be solo. And if you do get stuck, if you do get frustrated, there are other people in industry that you can ask questions to or come to and ask for help. Because the thing is, you don't want to be on your own without having people to talk to and network with. And a lot of times your competitors or other people can be actually really good people for you, because a lot of times they know the people that you're talking to as well. They may have interacted with them in the past, and you can get some really good feedback from them on how they are. How are they when they talk to you? Were they rude with you? Maybe they just had a bad day, right? So a lot of times, if you can compare notes with other people, or if you know people that may know your customer ahead of time, that's a great way to find out a little bit more before you're actually going in. So that makes you more credible, right? That makes you credible. Next is make sure that you know what your unique selling proposition is. We all know what our product is. We may know what our service is. We may know the features and benefits, but what makes it unique. And when I say unique, what makes it unique based on the customer that you're talking to? Because if you're sitting there and, like I said, if you're listening more and talking less, you're going to discover what's really their sticking point. And if you can sell on your unique selling proposition based on that, based on storytelling, right? Share other successes of people that if you have sold to or that you've worked with that person. When they're sharing their story, it's going to trigger, oh, I know somebody that I used to do this with, or I sold a product to this person and they really like that, right? So make yourself aligning with that person so that you can do a much better job, basically reinforcing what your unique selling proposition is going to do for them. And then finally, be able to be reliable and be responsible. And what I mean by that is don't be a flake and never come back. Make sure you follow up with the person. Follow up is so key. And I always say immediate follow up. I have a 24 to 48-hour rule that I like to use for follow up, but be the person that comes back, that you're reliable. When you tell somebody that you're going to do something, you do it, and you do it in a short amount of time. Don't be the person that just is like, well, I'll get to it when I feel like it, because the longer you wait between somebody else, they're going to also think that you're not very credible. Again, you're only ruining your own credibility. The thing that you're trying to actually levitate is being destroyed because you are not reliable to that person. So if you focus on these 5 things, and you really focus on making the most that you could possibly do for your customer, you're going to win and you're going to close more sales in less than 30 days. If you focus on these items and really focus on taking care of your customer first, and everything else will come. So grab my free guide, say guide below, and I will see you on the next